Have you ever looked closely at the edge of a river? It is a place teeming with activity, a bustling community of tiny creatures and plants. We can bring a small piece of this incredible world into our own homes. Creating a tiny river ecosystem inside a simple glass jar is a wonderful way to observe nature up close. It is a living experiment, a window into the complex web of life that often goes unnoticed beneath our feet. This small world allows us to witness the delicate dance of survival and the intricate connections that hold an ecosystem together. It is a fascinating project for anyone curious about the natural world. The appeal of such a project is quite understandable. In our busy, modern lives, we can sometimes feel disconnected from nature. A jar ecosystem serves as a constant, gentle reminder of the wild world that exists all around us. It is not just a decoration, it is a dynamic, living system that changes every day. Watching the slow growth of a plant or the quiet journey of a snail across a pebble can be remarkably calming. It offers a chance to slow down and appreciate the small, often overlooked details of life, fostering a sense of wonder and connection to our planet's incredible biodiversity. For young and old alike, this is a chance to become a scientist in your own home. It is an opportunity to ask questions and seek answers through direct observation. Why are there bubbles on the leaves? Where did that tiny worm come from? Why is the water becoming clearer? Each change within the jar is a lesson in biology, chemistry, and ecology. It is a hands-on experience that teaches us about the cycles of life, the importance of balance, and the roles different organisms play within their environment. It is a story unfolding in real time, a story of life's resilience and fragility. This tiny, self-contained world is more than just a collection of river items. It is a microcosm, a miniature version of the vast, interconnected systems that govern our entire planet. The processes that take place inside this jar, photosynthesis, decomposition, the food chain, are the very same processes that sustain life in the great rivers and oceans of the world. By creating and observing this small ecosystem, we gain a deeper appreciation for the grand, complex systems of nature. It is a humble yet profound way to engage with the environment and understand our place within it. To begin this wonderful project, you will need a few simple materials. First, find a large, clear glass jar with a lid. The bigger the better, as it provides a more stable environment. Next, you will need to gather your layers. Collect some small pebbles or gravel for the bottom, which will help with drainage and provide spaces for beneficial bacteria to grow. On top of that, you will need a layer of sand. Finally, you will need some water and a few small plants from a local, clean river or pond. Remember to collect everything responsibly, taking only a small amount from any one place. The assembly of your jar is a careful process, like building a tiny home. Start by washing the jar thoroughly with plain water, avoiding soap. Then, add your first layer of washed pebbles, about an inch or two deep. Next, gently pour in a layer of sand, another inch thick. The sand will be the rooting medium for your plants. Now it is time for the water. The best water to use is the water from the same river or pond where you collected your plants and animals. Fill the jar about 3/4 full, pouring it slowly over a rock to avoid disturbing the sand too much. With your landscape set, it is time to introduce the plant life. Small aquatic plants are essential, as they will produce oxygen for the animals to breathe. Using tweezers or your fingers, gently push the roots of the plants into the sand layer. You might choose a few different types to create a more diverse habitat. Once the plants are in place, you can add a few interesting rocks or a small piece of driftwood. These not only look nice but also provide surfaces for algae to grow on, and places for animals to hide, making the environment more complex and natural. The final step is to add a few small inhabitants. It is crucial to start small. 1 or 2 tiny pond snails or a single small freshwater shrimp are perfect first residents. They are the cleanup crew, feeding on algae and decaying plant matter, which helps keep the jar clean. Do not be tempted to add too many creatures, as this will overwhelm the system. Once your animals are in, top up the water, leaving a small air gap at the top. Then, seal the lid. Your tiny world is now complete, and its journey has begun. In the first few days after sealing your jar, you will be a privileged observer of a new world settling in. At first, the water might be quite cloudy from the disturbed sand. Do not worry, this is perfectly normal. Over the next day or two, the sediment will slowly settle, and the water should begin to clear. You will notice your tiny snail or shrimp starting to explore its new home, moving across the glass and pebbles. The plants will stand a little taller as they adjust to their position. This initial period is all about stabilization, as the different elements find their place. As you watch your jar each day, you will see subtle but important changes. One of the most magical sights is the appearance of tiny bubbles on the leaves of your plants, especially when the jar is in a bright spot. This is photosynthesis in action. The plants are taking in carbon dioxide and releasing precious oxygen into the water, which your animals need to survive. You might also see your snails leaving winding trails on the glass as they graze on microscopic algae that have started to grow. These are all signs that your ecosystem is coming to life. However, you must also watch for signs of trouble. If the water starts to smell bad, or becomes very cloudy and green after the initial settling period, it could mean something is wrong. This often happens if too much organic material, like a large plant that has died, begins to decay too quickly. This process uses up oxygen, which can be harmful to the animals. You might also notice an animal has become still and is not moving. Unfortunately, death is a part of any ecosystem, and in such a small, closed system, the decay of a larger animal can quickly unbalance everything. Careful observation is key. Keep a small notebook and jot down what you see each day. Note the water clarity, the activity of the animals, and the condition of the plants. Is there new growth? Has the algae increased? These daily observations are not just for fun, they are scientific data. They will help you understand the rhythms and cycles of your miniature world. This practice of patient watching will teach you to notice the small details and to appreciate the slow, steady pace of natural processes, a skill that is valuable far beyond this single glass jar. The survival of your tiny river world depends on a delicate and beautiful cycle. It is powered by light. During the day, the green plants perform a kind of magic called photosynthesis. They use sunlight to turn the carbon dioxide, which the animals breathe out, into food and precious oxygen. The animals in turn breathe in this oxygen to live. When plants or animals die, or when snails produce waste, bacteria and other tiny decomposers get to work. They break down this material, turning it back into simple nutrients that the living plants can use to grow. This is the circle of life in miniature. Sometimes, however, these tiny ecosystems do not survive. The balance can be easily upset. If there are too many animals for the number of plants, they will use up all the oxygen and the system will collapse. Likewise, if the jar gets too much direct sunlight, it can overheat. This can cause a massive bloom of algae, which covers everything in a green film. When this large amount of algae eventually dies, the bacteria that decompose it use up all the oxygen in the water, leaving none for the other inhabitants. Not enough light is also a problem, as the plants will be unable to produce the oxygen needed for life. So, how can you give your ecosystem the best chance of success? The most important tip is to find the right location for it. It needs bright but indirect light. A spot on a bookshelf near a window is often perfect. You must avoid placing it on a windowsill where the sun will beat down on it directly. It is also important to keep the temperature as stable as possible. And crucially, once the lid is sealed, you must resist the temptation to open it or interfere. The ecosystem needs time to find its own equilibrium. Patience is the most important tool you have. In the end, what can we learn from watching a small world in a jar? We learn that every single part has a purpose. The plants, the snails, the invisible bacteria, they all depend on each other. It is a powerful lesson in interdependence. This tiny, fragile system is a reflection of the great ecosystems of our planet. It shows us how finely balanced our world is, and how the loss of even one small part can affect the whole. By observing this miniature river, we learn to look at our own world with more care, more wonder, and a deeper understanding of the intricate web of life that connects us.